Zainab Kamara. I am a television producer at the SLBC.
Hello and welcome to this edition of the Podium, which is coming to you live from the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation with me, Asmiba. We start with a quote of the day, which comes from a Greek philosopher, and it says, "The foundation of every state is the education of its youths." Coming up into this edition of the program, Minister of Technical and Higher Education discusses the financial challenges affecting university education in Sierra Leone. We shall be talking to one of the stakeholders on that. National Commission for Persons with Disability calls on the Ministry of Transport and Aviation to make public transport disability friendly. All these stories and more, including your text messages, which you can send to the number on the screen. That's 0300733719. The program is The Podium. Let's start with the first issue. The Executive Secretary of the National Commission for Persons with Disability has written a letter of concern to the Ministry of Transport and Aviation on accessibility to public transport for persons with disabilities in the country. The Commission urged the Ministry to come up with policies and sanctions to ensure compliance with transport accessibility standards, promoting inclusivity of the society for disabled and aged. The Commission states that no public transport must be licensed or renewed if they fail to comply by next year, January. Well, Mausi Dumbuya is the Commission's manager, National Commission for Persons with Disability. Welcome to the program, Mr. Dumbuya.
Thank you so much, Asmo.
Okay, give us the prevailing condition of our our public transport when it comes to accessibility for persons with disability?
The prevailing circumstances, it's nothing good to write home about, because I would say they are almost inaccessible, and they are not disabled friendly, except for some of the buses, and in fact that they are just minimal. And also the attitude towards persons with disability is alarming, because most of these public transport drivers fail to accommodate persons with disability. They will tell them that, oh, we are not going, oh, don't waste our time. And for us as a commission, it is a mandate that all public transport should be accessible to persons with disability as per Section 25 of the Persons with Disability Act. That's why the commission sent a letter to Ministry of Transport. Remind you, Ministry of Transport are part of the commission's board. So we've asked them that they should come up with these policies, because they are the regulating ministry.
So are there no existing policies when it comes to persons with disability accessing public transport?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, it has to do with the Persons with Disability Act, which says that disabled persons should have access to public transport, and that one is in tandem with Article 9 of the UNCRPD, which says that persons with disability should access anywhere they want to access, and one of the way they do access this environment is through public transport.
But that is ambiguous.
Well, it is not ambiguous, because when you look at it, it's part of life. So for us to stop somebody from accessing different facilities, that itself is discrimination. It's discrimination in its nature, and the individual, as far as the commission is concerned, that is preventing such from actually happening, that individual is disabled, not the persons with disability, because you've prevented a person with disability, somebody that has the right to move from one place to another, not to access that particular facility. So that is why the commission has taken this very, very seriously, and it will also good for you to know that the commission did not only send a letter to the Ministry of Transport, we also sent a letter to the Ministry of Works, Ministry of Health, and Ministry of Education, for them to look at the persons with disability. In fact, what we did, we highlighted the sections in the Act that speak to their different ministries for them to actually take necessary action.
Why are you only speaking up now? Because these are age-old problems. These issues have been around. Persons with disabilities have come on. For example, on SLBC, they've raised these issues time and again, but nothing seems to be done.
We have been speaking up. We've done that through advocacy. We've engaged our partners, and that's why we've moved a step further. For us to send letters, first we'll have meetings with them, and also to engage them. We are part of it. We'll find solution towards these issues. However, they need to aware that Parliament in 2011 enacted an act that says X, Y, and Z should be done for the people of Sierra Leone.
Ministry of Transport, which is one of the government ministries, recently we saw the private partnership agreement that brought in the worker-fine buses. Even those buses, I stand to be corrected, but I doubt whether they are disability friendly.
I will tell you that some of them are disability friendly.
I mean, how?
Well,
if a worker-fine bus stops at this particular bus stop, how can a disability person access that bus? So
there are mechanism in that bus that actually provides space for persons with disabilities. In fact, we engage the Ministry of Transport on that, and they say that they have reserved seat for persons with disabilities.
Forget about the seat, accessing the bus, going to the bus, because what I've seen in other countries, what I've seen, for example, in the United States and the United Kingdom, public transport, public buses, for example, when they come to a particular bus halt, I mean, something like stairs descends. It allows the person to walk into the bus, whether the person has a wheelchair or not. If the person has a wheelchair, he or she uses that stairs to go into the bus without any difficulty. But I don't think worker-fine bus has those features.
So So that was our argument. And saying public transport, worker fine is also part of it.
Of course.
So that's why the commission is doing the Ministry of Transport attention to such, because we want to see a barrier-free environment as per section 24
because they themselves should have set
of
the
the act.
example.
Exactly. So that's why we are out now. We are sending this message, and we will be engaging them also on ways how to solve these issues.
Okay. Now, what about the SLRC, for example? They are the ones that gives licenses to vehicles to allow them to apply our streets. Because if you don't have a license, I mean, vehicles go there for fitness tests.
Certainly.
And also they are also a very key partner in all of this.
Yes. So they are under the control of the Ministry of Transport and Aviation. That's why in our letter we mention it clearly that it should not only be the buses or the taxis that flies Freetown. It goes further to say sea transport. Yeah, any transport that is being used in the public space that is being used to transport individual from one place to another has to be disabled friendly. Now, so if we've communicated this to the Ministry of Transport, they will cascade that information to SLRA, because for us as a commission, our position is by January 2025, no public transport should be licensed or relicensed if your vehicle is not disabled friendly, if it is not accessible. So that's why we'll start the engagement earlier. We don't want a situation, will not be no. Now we are on it, and we don't want to stop, because we want to create an accessible environment for all.
Okay, continue to be with us. He is Mausi Dumbuya, who is the Communications Manager, National Commission for Persons with Disabilities. The program is a podium coming to you live from Freetown. Let's now go to another issue. This one has to do with education. Many times, many people have not furthered their education because of financial challenges. Well, the Ministry of Technical and Higher Education has held a town hall session at the multipurpose hall of Freetown College. We're bringing together educationists, students and community stakeholders to discuss financial challenges affecting students and university administrators, and to promote quality higher education in Sierra Leone. Well, this session aimed at addressing the financing of higher education and identifying sustainable solutions through collective responsibility. Well, the need for all hands on deck was to ensure that quality education is accessible to all. Well, the cost of quality higher education, a collective responsibility. The event aimed to foster a dialogue on how to address the financial challenges facing higher education institutions and students alike. Well, the Director of Higher Education in the Ministry of Technical and Higher Education is Emmanuel Momo. Welcome to the program, sir.
Yep.
Good afternoon. The forum we saw on Friday, the gathering we saw on Friday, we represented all stakeholders when it comes to education. We saw the Tertiary Education Commission, we saw the ministry that supervises education, we saw universities and colleges discussing the issue of financial challenges. How have financial challenges hindered education in Sierra Leone?
Thank you very much, Asmi, for bringing us to this program. Of course, the program, the town hall was held on the 26th of September. That was Thursday last week at the multipurpose hall of Freetown College. You know, it was actually geared towards having, a kind of dialogue with stakeholders in education, wherein we actually had people from the civil society, we have people from the university, we have representatives from the Ministry of Finance, we have representatives from the from the Academic Staff Association, we have representatives from Student Union representative and other civil society activists and parents. We are all in that hall, you know, so have a frantic discussion as to financing higher education. And then it was a successful one, because at the end of the day, we were people were able to make recommendations. We are able to talk frankly, actually, as to how to chart the way forward in financing higher education. I think we actually got exactly where we wanted to go.
When we say financing education, it's a two-way street. For example, you have the government's financing aspect, and you have also the student financing aspect. For example, if a family wants a kid of theirs to pursue higher education, that family has to provide the wherewithal for that kid. And for universities to function well, public ones, for example, the government also has to ensure that it provides what is needed for those universities. So let's start with the government aspect. Many times people say the public universities are not doing well because they are short of resources. When you look at the private universities, those ones that have emerged recently, you look at people say they are doing better than the public universities.
Yes, I agree with you. Actually, the universities actually need finances to be effective in the discharge of their responsibility, which is teaching, research, examination, and community service. You understand? For which they are established. So the government actually, let's face the fact, the reality. The government has much to do in education, and government is pouring more finances in education at primary level, at secondary level. Government pays for students at primary level, they pay at secondary level, and even now at tertiary level, even because students are awarded government granting aid, right? And government has also made provision for the student loan scheme. That's to enhance accessibility. You understand? For those who cannot easily afford, they can go take a loan and then they can take care of their fees. That opportunity has been created by government. But let's also don't forget the fact that government gives subvention to universities. But the question now we have to ask is that really enough? The numbers are increasing year in, year out. The numbers are increasing. Since the implementation of the free quality education in this country, the quest for Sierra Leoneans to actually attain higher education is increasing. Everybody wants to go to school. Everybody wants to actually access university education. So the numbers are increasing. So the money that
the private institutions that are not subvented, they solely rely on the fees that are paid by students. Are managing their resources, they are doing well. Governments or public institutions that are subvented are struggling. Why?
Okay, so you said actually let's handle the government, the issue of the government. I was talking about subvention. The government is actually subventing those institutions, but the question that we should ask is it really enough, considering the numbers that are now coming? Because if we are having more students now, more Sierra Leoneans wanting to go to tertiary institutions, and then you have less lecturers, then that's you begin to question the quality. Actually, if you have 500, 600, 700 students in a class, and then you have a lecturer teaching them, how is it going to have continuous assessment and that kind of thing? That is going to actually affect the teaching method. And then even the subvention, if it is not enough to take care of some kind of administrative expenses, then the government will find, the institutions will find it difficult for actually function effectively.
So what is it that the private
now you come to the private institution. I come to the private institutions. If one thing we have to establish, or one thing we have to bear in mind, is that quality education at higher level across the world is not cheap. Higher education across the world is expensive. So you go to private institutions, they are paying for it. They are paying for tertiary education. That's the reason why they charge high. And if you charge high, you want to get actually the service that you are paying for, you have to pay. So that is the reason why we are saying, okay, if we actually want to have the quality of education that we want to get in the public universities, then those we have to pay for. The students will have to pay for that.
So how did the discussions go when it comes to government is giving out its subventions, but the universities are saying the subvention that government dishes out are not enough. So what was government's arguments on that day? Well,
the numbers are increasing.
So
the numbers are increasing. So, in fact, some of the people actually who went to the hall, there were series of recommendations. People made recommendations that we have to partner with private sectors. We have to actually contact people. Alumni association and others, and a host of other recommendations actually came up. Because if we leave it in the hands of government alone is not going to solve it. As I said, the numbers are increasing. We need to come in as a nation, as parents, as institution to actually assist. If we want to actually have quality education. Government is actually doing its best. Government is providing the fees required at primary level, at secondary level, and even some at university level. But it's not enough.
There have been instances also where the public universities wanted to increase their fees, but government intervened and said no. because if government argue that the subvention is not enough, and the institutions wants to increase fees in order to have more money, more revenue to run their institutions, then that's also another challenge.
Oh yes, actually they consulted us. The higher educational institutions actually had consultations with us that they want to increase fees, economic fees. They want to charge economic fees, but we said no. You have to hold on a bit. Let's have discussion on this. It's not something that you just wake up one morning and say, no, I'm going to increase fees. We have to consult. We have to engage with stakeholders, which is what we had, which is why we had that meeting, on Thursday, so that we can, we can have people, parents buying in, stakeholders, civil society activities, students, and that kind of thing. So we've started discussion. Are we going to allow the universities to charge economic fee? Some answers are coming in, and we're going to have further engagement based on the recommendations that we had in that town hall. You see, or we're going to continue to rely on government subvention. We're going to continue to rely on granting aid. We're going to continue to rely on student loan scheme. These are the discussions that we actually, had on Thursday, and we intend to. In
other countries, the universities also embark on research. They embark on studies. On stuff like that, and that's also one way they generate revenue. I'm not here to talk for the universities, but also people say they'll be lagging in that.
In
terms of embarking on research that will give them money.
Oh yes, because in fact, I told you initially that one of the key functions actually of the universities is research. Yep. They have to, embark on research activities. In fact, that is one of the criteria. That is one of the criterion that they use to actually assess them. That you have to embark on research. You have to embark on research, because if you do not research as a lecturer, you cannot be promoted. And if you do not research as a university, as a lecturer, you cannot actually inform policy decision making. Because out of the research, they can be able to, they can inform policymakers. They can inform government as to which direction in which to want.
Does government give some of the university research with respect?
Yes.
The research that, does government consult universities when it wants to embark on certain policies?
Oh yes.
Because in other countries, in other countries, before government embarks on certain policies, they'll go to the university and also get their own buy-in, get their own ideas on that, and the university will come out with solutions, with recommendations to papers, to research.
In fact, government, most of the university authorities are consulted either by government through the line ministry or the Ministry of Technical Education. Consult lecturers when we want to actually do some research activities, so that they can give their input, as to what to do. Let me also inform the public or viewers that actually the Ministry of Technical Education has embarked on even the collection of data, because we want to know what's happening in our higher educational institutions. We want to know the staff strength. We want to know the student ratio. We want to know actually the finances, and a host of others. We have embarked on that. We've got data from all of those institutions, and we're going to actually analyze those data to inform policymakers, to inform government as to what is the way forward. Okay. In supporting higher education.
He is Emmanuel Momo, who is the Director of Higher Education in the Ministry of Technical and Higher Education. The program is a podium coming to you live from the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation. You can join us by sending a message to the number you see on the screen, or also join us on our Facebook page, Slbc Tv, and be part of the conversation. We are discussing today how financial challenges are hindering higher education in Sierra Leone, and also how the Disability Commission has asked the Ministry of Transport to ensure that public transports in Sierra Leone are disability friendly. Well, still on the issue of education, now let's go to the National Union of Sierra Leone Students. That institution, that body, is also one of the stakeholders when it comes to education in the country. Whereas Bonafa has just joined us. He is the president of NUS. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
Okay, now from the students' perspective, you guys had also a portion, you had a bite during the discussion on that particular day. From the student perspective, what's your own take?
Well, it was a brilliant and a bold step to be taken by the ministry to ensuring that all the stakeholders come together to a round table to discuss the welfare of students, because basically this entire thing was engulfed around students. In the first place, if we do not have students, then there is no Ministry of Education in the first place. If we do not have students, then there is no institution to lecture the students. So I think the entire conversation was centered around the welfare of students. So we are very happy that such a platform was created in the first place.
Okay, I mean, from the government's, the university's point of view, they are arguing that the subvention they receive from government most times are not enough. And government is saying, well, I mean, this is what we can provide. When you look at the prevailing economic conditions, we can't give what we don't have. So that's a chicken and the egg. That's a very dicey situation.
Well, all of us are quite aware that well, the government might not be doing too much as far as the educational system is concerned in this country. But again, all of us are very much mindful and aware that this is a government that has contributed like 22% of the national budget to educational business in this country. So I think it is now we have now come to a point where the institutions need to take the responsibility to see how they can form themselves, how they can generate incomes from themselves. I think that is the primary reason as to why we had that town hall meeting, how the institutions, how the universities will generate money to form themselves, because we cannot just rely wholly on the subventions that is coming from.
But most times their hands are tied. They don't have the latitude that private institutions have.
Well, I don't think that is the case.
No, that's a serious issue. Before you came here, I just asked Mr. Mamo. There was a time that the public universities wanted to increase their fees, but the government asked them to hold on.
Yes, so it comes down to a lot of questions and a lot of consideration moving forward. So, for instance, we have students that are paying fees, but they are not getting the facilities that they are paying for. So that was one of our strongest oppositions that we had on that day, that we are not even averse to the increment in fees. In fact, we are part of that decision. But it's equally important for everybody to know that when we had that retreat in Bo, the list of fee that was proposed was 18,100 euros. So it was due to a constructive negotiation that we had with the ministry together with all the other relevant stakeholders that we had to get a drastic reduction in fees. Otherwise it would have become a problem. It would have become very chaotic. So in as much as students are paying fees, we expect that those fees should be used judiciously by those university authorities to ensure the smooth running of the institution. Of course, private universities are not getting any subvention from the government, but they are doing extremely well. They have ways to generate funds.
So what is the magic?
Well,
what is it that the private universities are doing right that our public universities are not doing right?
Well, one, it is not just the responsibility of the DBC to be in charge of the institution. It is equally the responsibility of the DBC to look out for ways to generate money for the running of the institutions. So
have they not been doing that?
Well,
DVCs?
I am not certain, because if they are raising money for the institution, then they are getting subvention, they are getting fees from students, then I think we will be having a smooth conversation by now.
Yeah, Mr. Omar, that's a very compelling argument. The DVCs are not only there to supervise their institutions, to look at the day-to-day running, but it's also like a father at home. Your responsibility is to go out there and fend for your families, bring food on the table, pay the fees of your kids, take care of your wives, pay the rent. That's what is expected of you. So as a DVC also, you are expected to go out there and source funds for your institutions. Well, actually, DVC's not been doing that.
Well, actually, that's the responsibility of the vice chancellors and principals, not the deputy vice chancellors. Actually, you see, so as provided for in the Universities Act of 2021, that's their response. One of their responsibilities actually go out there, source funding from the university, and to enhance the smooth running of the university.
Have they been doing that?
Well, some have been doing. Credit to some. They have been doing it, others have not been doing it, and also for this private university, you realize, yes, they are actually looking for monies, to come and finance or support the universities, but the students are equally also paying for the quality of service that they want, because that is the reason why in the private university they pay more than the public university.
Are you saying students in public institutions are not paying their fees?
No, they are paying, but not as high as what is paid in the private universities.
The services also that the public institutions are providing are cannot be compared to what private institutions are providing.
Well, yes, because that is the reason. In fact, that was one of the reasons why we held this town hall on Thursday. Are you actually paying? Are the students actually paying for the services that should be given to them? You want quality education, you must pay for the quality. But again, the students are saying, well, we are paying, but the services are not rendered to us. And that is where actually we come in as a supervising ministry to hold them accountable. Why is it that the students are paying, but the services are not provided for them? You know, if a student pays for ID card, let the ID card be provided. If the student pays for internet, for computer service, let the computer be provided for them. But to be fair enough on the part of the student, yes, we go around the universities, you see computers, but there are in some universities those computers are not, they are just they are not functioning. Well, we need to have functional universities.
Mausi and I, we are classmates. That's around 2004, 2005. we also paid to access computer, but we never touched the button of the computer. Well, so that's an age-old problem. They pay, but they don't have access.
It's an age-old problem. Even myself, when I was in university, I paid for computer. But this is we don't actually want this kind of thing to continue. We have to move from that. Okay. It has been happening, but it's not going to be business as usual. If we want the student to pay for the service must be provided. Yeah, you pay for the service, let the service be provided for you.
Whatever the universities are arguing that the monies that students pay is not enough for what they are asking for. What they are paying, I mean, that money is not enough for the university to provide what you guys are asking for. That's the argument of the universities.
No, that is quite unfortunate.
I'm sure you two must have had that argument.
Of course. And this has been one of the issues that I've always been putting forward. That is quite an unfortunate statement to make, because one, it is the responsibility of the institution to generate money for the running of the institutions. That is one. Secondly, they are getting subvention from the government. Then thirdly, they are getting fees from students. So now we have a lot of students that are paying for facilities that they do not enjoy. You have been a victim of sin. That does not mean that we should allow the old trajectory to continue. Otherwise, we have a few sets of powerful students within our learning institutions that are siphoning funds from the public and equally from innocent students who are struggling to pay fees for themselves. I think that is an injustice to Sierra Leone as a whole. And to a large extent, I think these people are not just depriving the students of the facilities they should enjoy, but they are equally undermining His Excellency the President, who has played so much role in ensuring that education becomes a priority in this country. So now students are paying for ICT fee. I have been at the institution for 8 years. I have not had access.
And you pay for ICT every year?
I pay it's part of the school fees. In fact, that was what led to the increment in fees in the first place. Because if we have to reduce or deduct all of these facilities that students are paying for, but they are not getting the facilities, then you get to understand that the fees will drastically reduce. So students are paying for ICT fee. They don't get access to free internet or equally computers. Students are paying for professional fees. You go to a private college or any institution of this in this country, students do not even know what is professional fees. People are paying for field trip. They do not get field trip for certain departments. Even when field trip is part of the fees. When they want to ask students, they tell them equally to bring 500 euros of fees. We pay for ID cards. The university authorities are asking for 500 euros. Now the national ID card is 145 euros. So are we saying the university ID card is more important?
It's more expensive than the national ID card.
So there are a lot of things that are just not going on well in our institution. So we think it is very important. But I tell you, the ministry has been working. Like I told you, I think some of the university authorities are undermining the vision of His Excellency the President of this country. Okay. So that is a cause for concern.
But if I hold it there, the discussion is getting heated and interesting. Well, we are going for a short break. After the break, the program continues. Someone will respond to that. The issue of example, universities asking 500 leons for ID card, while the national ID card is way below that. Well, let's go for a break. After the break, we are back. We are back with the program Podium, which is coming to you live from the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation with me, Asmiba. Now, apart from public transport, even public buildings in this country, many of them are not disability friendly. A few months ago, the U building, for example, went without lift for almost 2 years. It took almost 2 years for the lift at U building to be fixed. So every time I went there, I asked myself, how someone with disability challenge, how would that person access 4th floor, 5th floor, up to 8th or 9th floor? That's so challenging. And people are building tall buildings every day in the city. I don't think they are disability friendly.
So that is a challenge. In fact, the ministry that is responsible for works is not even accessible for persons with disability.
That's ironical.
Yes, that is. And we even sent a letter there reminding them of Section 24 of the Persons with Disability Act and Section 26, which talks about giving adjustment order. So we need to sit and see that we find a way for us to create a barrier-free environment. Mind you, the Commission did an accessibility audit of majority of public buildings, including State House, the Parliament, the courts, some hospitals, and we came out with a very comprehensive report. And the Parliament, because it's like the father of the Act, they enacted the Act, they went swiftly, approached EU, and EU ensured that Parliament is accessible. Now a wheelchair user can go right through the well of Parliament unhindered. So that is why we've also engaged the Ministry of Works for them to see that there's a provision which is responsible for that, because we are tired. Yeah, any individual is a candidate for disability one way or the other, and if you don't create the necessary facilities, you don't create a barrier that is accessible for persons with disability, what will become of you when you get disabled?
But I mean, the issue is about enforcement.
Yes, that's it. So that is why the Commission, through the chairman and the executive secretary, who've decided to take this very stoutly. Very well, we are going to drop heavily on institutions that fail to make their environment accessible for persons with disability.
What are the penalties? Because if you are asking people to comply and they fail to comply, there must be penalties.
Yes, so Section 26 of the Persons with Disability Act gives the Commission the power to issue out adjustment order. Like we warn you and we give you some amount of time, like 6 months or 1 year, depending on the assessment, and for you to create your space accessible for persons with disability. If you fail, the Commission has the power of the High Court to shut your building. We'll close your building until you comply.
Have you ever done that before?
Of course, the Commission has not done that, but I will tell you, before the end of this year, we are going to close public facilities that are inaccessible to persons with disabilities.
Do you want to name some of those buildings for us that are under your red list?
Of course, we are coming here at SLBC. SLBC is inaccessible. Of course, we. So
you want to start with SLBC?
SLBC is one. The Ministry of Works is another. Of course, talking about university.
But I'll show you we are going to comply in the next few months.
Thank you. And then talking about universities, they are also inaccessible to persons with disability.
Take for example, Kennedy Building.
Thank you. We had a colleague that we used to lift up and down that building, and of course, IPAM, there is a provision there for a lift. Since I left IPAM 2016, the provision is still there. Nothing has been done, and there are times persons with disability do struggle to go through these institution. So these are the things we are saying. It's not about now, it's about your future. You don't know what will happen with you. So that's why the Commission has decided to go on the rampage. And in fact, we will not stop until people are there and comply to the provisions of the Act.
Now, let's say, for example, let's go back to where we started, the issue of public transport. The public buses, we call them pula. Even their seats are metal seats. And I remember the Ministry of Transport also, SLRS, then issued a warning that all pula should not have metal seats. I don't know whether they, some do still have. So I'm wondering whether they are going to comply. These pula, I mean, majority of our people use those buses.
So even for us that we say we are not disabled, those vehicles are not safe for us. Not to talk about persons with disability. So it's a client call on the Ministry of Transport for them to have their citizen at the back of their mind when we are planning. Yeah, because I don't think if we create the necessary environment, we put the necessary policies in place, that this so-called poda rider will go and put extra seats when, of course, the way the vehicle was created was do not have extra seats. So what is bad if you just go with the right seat that the vehicle actually come with? Then we'll see. We'll say, okay, well, you have to reserve the front seat for persons with disability. Ask me, the other day, my boss had a breakdown along Julia axis. I stopped the taxi. The driver looked me to the face and said, if not that disabled man, I know they can't go, I'm not waste time. I said, do you
discriminatory?
That discriminatory itself, but that guy was actually dealt with. However, these are some of the attitude of some of these transport and public users. They don't have respect for persons with disability, nor do they want to make their transport accessible for persons with disability. So these are the things why the Commission has decided to engage the Ministry of Transport, so we could have a level playing field for all of us. So that's why we are not going to stop, and we will ensure that they comply with, well, it's not an ultimatum.
The price is higher than the national ID card. For example, the national ID card, I think it's around 150,000 or so. 145,000, 145 leons. But the university ID cards is 500 leons. I mean, that's absurd.
By every stretch of our imagination, we know that is on the high side. So that is the reason why we have actually taken our time. We are taking our time to have a discussion with the universities, because these are concerns that are raised by students. Yeah, in here, how they are approaching.
What do you normally do to address those concerns?
Well, we've been talking to them, and then I think, but we are now coming to a point wherein we have to take a decision. That is the reason why we've had this engagement. Right, we have this engagement to see actually, well, to have everybody's opinion, to see that we can have a frank discussion, and then if we are moving towards allowing them to be charging economic fee, I think the facilities which the students pay for must be, the services must be provided. I think that is where we are moving to now.
Are you convinced that these subventions have been used for their intended purpose?
Well, I have no reason to doubt the universities that they are not using the subvention for their intended purposes until otherwise. But I believe they are using it for their intended purposes. However, if they are not using it for the intended purposes, then it will come out by way of, well, audit. Not for me to say here now. You know, we have auditors out there who can say that they are not using it for their intended purpose, or they are using it.
Do you go through their books?
Well, yes, our auditors actually normally go through their books, yes.
What do you normally find out?
Well, the auditors, so well, that's their reports are normally presented to management, so I cannot speak for them now, but then we'll see. We'll find a way. We'll find a time wherein you call the auditors, or well, they come and speak to the public to that.
Okay. Now let's look at the quality aspect as well. When you compare the quality of education that people get from the public universities to what they get in private universities, how would you respond to that?
Well, the quality of education in the the private university, as I said, and I will continue to say it, they are paying for it. You want quality education, you must pay for it. In the private university, in the public university, well, government is financing, but that doesn't mean we cannot actually have some quality in the public university. They are supposed to have quality in the public universities. And then if you are not saying that you want to actually charge economic fee, then you must be ready to provide quality. And that's what we are actually, that's our concern as a ministry supervising them. If the students are actually going to pay economic fee, yeah, then the services must be provided.
Well, as a government, as a ministry, also, if you are asking the public universities to provide quality education, you must also increase the subventions you are giving them.
Well, yes, that is. Well, I said initially yes. Even if the government increase, that it has never.
Eat a palatable dish. ensure you give enough money.
It has never been, the subvention has never been enough, and it's never going to be enough, because the numbers continue to increase on a yearly basis, year in, year out. So can government do it alone? No. Government need partners to come in. You know, it's your responsibility, it's my responsibility, it's the responsibility of other private institutions. You know, we all have to come together. That's the reason why we actually called for that dialogue. Let's go and talk. How are we going to actually finance higher education? We've started dialogue. And we'll get there.
Whatever, do you think the public institutions are open up to private investments? Because, I mean, that's the trend now in the world. You see this public-private partnership, institutions coming together to see how they can have a partnership. Because, like Mr. Momo said, they can't rely only on government subvention. They can't rely only on fees, because you look at the economic climate in our country. For example, if you want quality education in Sierra Leone and you are asked to pay, let's say, for example, 15 or 20,000 euros, how many Sierra Leoneans can afford that?
Well, it is important for us to do that. For the ministry to have the town hall meeting was an indication that we have some lapses when it comes to finances, as far as it has to do with the running of tertiary institutions. So the main agenda was to see how all the stakeholders will come together, prefer solutions, and how to see how these institutions will continue or we start to take full responsibility of themselves financially. So one of the issues that we unanimously agreed on was that there should be a public-private partnership between the governments, the institutions, and the public sector. But the thing is, we do not have any data to indicate that there have been partnership in the past, or maybe the university authorities are pushing forward to see that there is a partnership in the future. So that is something that I cannot speak to. But what I think is very important.
You think they are averse to that?
No, of course. Of course, they are. They know their responsibilities. These are educated people. So if they don't do it, then maybe it's just a negligence of duty. But we expect everybody to know your mandates as far as when it comes to that type of hierarchy that you're occupying within our educational sector. So it is very important. Then, in as much as we are equally speaking to the university authorities, the public sectors should also know that it is very important and they have a role to play. It is part of their duty constitutionally. But it is very appalling for you to know that even the student union government or the national student body, when we want to implement a certain project, we write to certain banks, institutions, these people do not consider us. They do not consider students. But they have a lot of programs that they are supporting. First this, first that, dance first, drink first. These are the things they sponsor. And I don't think those things are making much of a sense. They should implement more into the activities of students, because the students are the future of this
And they have funds under their corporate social responsibility.
Yes. So what are they generally getting from supporting first this, first that, uni first this, drink first, dance first, this? So it's boring and very appalling, to say the least. So we are expecting them to take full responsibility of their social corporate responsibility. So at this moment, we are not asking that they should give to the student. Let them give to the institutions, because when they give to the institution, by extension, they are supporting the educational strive and development in this country and to the student generally.
Now let's look at one thing before we end this edition of the podium. The issue of accommodation. I was told that there is now some PPP arrangement, not the way during our own days as students. The hostels were purely managed and controlled by Fwabi College. Is that the same arrangement, or they now have some private sector aspect?
We have a private sector that is called SEMCO. Yes, but SEMCO works in tandem with the administration.
Have things changed?
Well, yours was managed by the administration entirely.
Yeah.
Well, now it is managed by.
So what I'm asking, have things changed when it comes to facilities?
No, nothing has changed. And it's just the same thing.
Because
we still have students at Freetown College that are taking classes at amphitheater. We still have students that are occupying classes that are very much small. this is not just limited to Freetown College. Every other public.
What about the hostels?
Well, the hostel is very much accommodating.
Have things changed?
No, they are very much accommodating.
Are facilities better now than they were in our own days?
Yes, they are.
You have, I mean, for example,
I have lived at the hostel, so I can tell you that for a fact.
Okay, so that one is better managed.
Yes,
now.
the hostel is very better.
The question you ask, I'm asking if a PPP arrangement can provide better hostels for students, why can't also that be cascaded to the general administration of the university?
Well, there lies the problem. So sometimes you have to sit back and watch what is happening. These things have been happening for generations, so we cannot continue to accept the same trajectory where students are paying for facilities that they are being deprived of. When I took over the leadership of the union, one of the first promises that I made, not just to the students but to this country, was that students are not going to do anything in form of demonstration or strike. This is as a result of the fact that we understand that the country has gone through a lot, and we as students need to change the trajectory. Prior to now, when you say student leadership, they say talk about demonstration, they talk about strike. But now we want to change the trajectory where we can sit and dialogue. Because even if we want to take to the streets, at the end of the day, the few facilities that we are enjoying as a nation, we are going to destroy them. So why can't we just go to the end product, which is dialogue, sit down and negotiate and see what is in best for the students?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Momo. The issue of the hostels being managed in a PPP arrangement, and according to Bonafa, facilities are better now than our own days as students. I mean, why can't that similar arrangement be cascaded to the general running of the university?
Well, it requires some policy shifts, because we have
I know that's
the university.
Right, you are the ones who are coming up with policy. You are giving the policy direction.
Well, we cannot just change the administrative system of the university, except we have to go back to the Act, because what happens actually in the university is dictated by the. Oh yes, we are actually we are working on reviewing the Act. Of course. We've sent a proposal to them. Well, we are getting feedback from some stakeholders. We have received from Tertiary Education Commission. We are waiting to actually receive from the universities, and then we have also identified some gray areas from the ministry in the Act. Because this was actually sent to us, this recommendation was made to us by the early warning sign. That yes, because of this conflict here and there, you guys need to look at the Act again. You need to review this Act, because there are a lot of gray areas in that Act which need to be looked at. So we cannot just change the university administrative system without actually recourse to the Act. So we need to look at it again in that way, and then to see where we can actually review to enhance effective administrative functioning.
So what was the high point?
The high point actually, you have like age of retirement in the university, you have like the appointment of registrar, you have like the appointment of the finance director, you have something like the appointment of the vice chancellor and principal, and a host of
some people say the issue of retirement, issue of appointment, issue of promotion has been selectively implemented.
Well, that's the opinion of people. I cannot go by that. It's just an opinion, an expression of their opinion. Of course, they have right to that, to express their opinion.
Bonafa, what do you think was the high point? Just 3 seconds.
Say again?
What do you think was the high point of the dialogue?
Well,
the town hall meeting.
Well, I think out the institutions and let me say the institutions should provide finances for themselves, in as much as government is giving subvention. Okay.
Mawusi, as we go a final word to the Transport Regulatory Ministry, and even the Works Ministry. Ironically, the Ministry of Works is not disability friendly.
So we want them to know that there is an Act of Parliament, which is the 2011 Persons with Disability.
Are you popularizing this Act?
Well, we've done that repeatedly.
Go to Fabi College, for example.